Hi everybody, this is Gammy, and a lot of people think that the best way to go to Tysons and Springfield is using Metro, the blue lines and the silver line, but the problem is it costs a lot of money. So I have a better solution for this. Why not you take Metro, but for free? Hear me out. You just have to go downstairs, away from the station, into the bus terminals, and there is a special type of Metro that you can use, and it's for free. Now here we are using OmniRide. Now this is not just a bus. No. This is Metro Express. Trust me on this. Okay, what is this? OmniRide or Ride On? Because, my goodness, we're blued out here. So anyways, this is OmniRide. This is one of the often forgotten and lesser known metro systems that America tends to forget about. It's a pretty unique metro system as they only run a one-car train that is made by the manufacturer called Gil-Ig. These Gil-Igs are quite unique because they mimic that of a bus in terms of appearance. Sometimes they have one door, sometimes they'll have two doors, and they seem to have tires on similar to that of Mexico's, Paris, and Montreal's metro system. Also, instead of an electrified third rail or an overhead wire, these train sets seemingly run on diesel engine or a diesel hybrid engine of some sort. And occasionally they will make a muffled toot that for some reason I could not be able to grab on camera. I don't know why they have to be that unique, but then again, it's good to be a little different. Now the downside of this Metro life hack is that we will actually be transferring between 4 lines. Right now we are on line number 95. It is also known as the Prince William Metro Express, which I am absolutely impressed that they would have an express service equal to that of New York City. Another key feature about the 95 line is that while it does connect to the Springfield Metro and VRE stations, it also connects to the Woodbridge station. No, we're not talking about the one that's in New Jersey. We're talking about the Father Station and the Father City here in Virginia, obviously. Perhaps one day we can review this station. But for now, we are almost 1/4 of our journey completed. Now, the TOD development here is quite interesting because everything seems to be spread out to the point that you would have to walk probably an hour from your house to one of these shopping centers. But I would imagine that TOD will come up at some point. I mean, just look at Vienna Fairfax GMU and Ashburn. There's still like a lot of empty plots of land that have stayed around for years. So, with patience will come the TOD, I guess. So here we are finally at the Stone Bridge parking ride, I believe. And just right in front of us I see the 96, so we're getting in right now. And here we are on the 96 line. Pardon me for that very hastily made intermission, but the connections from one line to the other is insanely impressive. Have you ever thought about being in Fort Taunton and you want to transfer from the red line to the green line? It takes at least 7 minutes for you to wait for that next train. Nope, not here. It seems that getting into a metro line to another metro line here is very smooth like butter. Now this line that we are on is also called the East-West Express. This metro line connects us from the Woodbridge area to Manassas. This literally means that they have made their own version of the Purple Line long before Maryland will get theirs in a few years. And what's even more impressive is that there is a connection to a diner, and behind that diner is a very large mall called Potomac Mills. In terms of gaming lore, I haven't really been to this mall in about 15 years. I think I should revisit that mall. Now I gotta say, this has to be one of the most scenic types of journeys that I've ever took. And mostly it just involves all of the flowering trees that have been blooming, from dogwood, cherry, and apple blossoms. And in this route in particular, even though like everything has been sparse and there isn't that much TOD development in this metro line, I've been quite amazed in just seeing like the variety of like different types of housing stocks, like the mobile homes that are right behind this construction area, a lot of forest and parks, and there's even farmland, which is quite surprising for a metro system. It's as if it's not really a metro and it's actually a... Never mind, just look at the scenery. Very farm-like and very rural. Very good for a metro line. Now, as previously mentioned with the 95, there is a connection to the Manassas station for the BRE and Amtrak. However, the walk is quite significant. This does require dropping off at one of the courthouse stations and then making your way down Center Street to where you will see the Manassas station. And speaking of Manassas, we are here where we can now make our next transfer. Alright, so just super quickly, no rear doors. That's so interesting. Alright, I gotta say, their service is amazing. I have to explain this later on, but this is so beautiful. That's really good. As you can see, we made a very swift change from the 96 to the 65. In terms of gamey lore again, the 65 is the first metro line I have used from OmniRide services. So I'm pretty familiar with how the route runs as it weaves through suburbia, goes into the throat of Bull Run, and then straight into the Nova campuses. And also in between is where we will be making our final transfer spot, the Manassas Mall. Yes, another mall, which means along with Potomac Mills and Springfield Mall, which I forgot to mention. Oh, I mean the Springfield Town Center. We do now have 3 malls that we have just passed by. Anyways, you should be in complete awe as to how a metro is literally running through the streets of a suburb. It is just insanely impressive. But what's more impressive as well is this upcoming mall that we're heading towards, the Manassas Mall. First of all, it is literally located next to a private farmland. And to make this even more wackier, this mall has a go-kart track inside, which me as a racing fan, I absolutely give a major thumbs up to. And yes, what you are literally seeing is true. To put the icing on top, there is literally a Walmart attached to this mall. This part of Virginia is quite wacky with the way that they run their metros and their malls, and I absolutely love it. And now we are at the Manassas Mall. We're going to make our hop now to the 60. Holy crap. Well, we're in an MCI, so this is my first time on it. And once again, another very smooth transaction into the 60s, often known as the Tysons Metro Express. And as you can see, they have another metro set, one called an MCI, and I assume it's owned by MPI, you know, those locomotives that VRE runs, because you know, MPI, MCI. Certainly I wouldn't believe a company like New Flyer would own them. Definitely that's not the case. Oh wait, it is? Interesting. Well, I guess New Flyer runs metros now. Now going back to my comments about the quality of service between the 96 and the 65. The service is very good. The operators have an above and beyond type of mentality, which really reminds me of Dash and GRTC's services. And I would imagine that it's because, one, we're in the South. We often refer to Prince William County as the official start of the South, so you get that Southern hospitality. And of course, you just have a lot of people who are absolutely dedicated to their craft. And I very much expected it from two YouTubers, Sammy Marco and Tyler Alberico. They both have nothing negative to say about the system, and now seeing more of the system, honestly, I am definitely willing to ride more of Omni Ride. Now, I will be much more genuine about what I'm about to say, and that is that the hours in terms of the frequencies are not there ideally. To compare these frequencies, it would be that of being at Far Rockaway trying to take the A line on the weekends. Yeah, the frequencies are definitely not there, but maybe one day with Prince William and the Manassas cities funding being allocated to transit, maybe we can get a much better system. And I definitely have a feeling that they will definitely improve. The biggest helper will definitely be VRE once the Long Bridge extension has been completed. With more people wanting to use the transit system of VRE, that would most certainly mean the increased usage of OmniRide to connect to the VRE stations. You know, supply and demand. And that would also mean an increase in service for the Fairfax connector as well, which is definitely good news, but we gotta wait. But hey, we got Metro Express. So we cool kids are here on this MCI. Alright then. After... Well, we're not going to discuss the time of how long that took, but it is definitely possible to go from Springfield to the Tysons for free. And plus, you can even get a bonus MCI ride, which is probably the greatest thing that has ever happened to me. Granted, there's probably a lot of them that runs one of the Metro Expresses for free. Anyways, obviously, if you have not gotten in it, it is an April Fool's video, so yeah. But in all seriousness, I gotta say, I really do like how OmniRide has these tight connections, but they do a pretty good job at holding the buses so that way people can transfer from one bus to the other. So this trip is a lot more seamless. I really do hope that a lot of the local government funding it gets allocated to more of their bus services, because the frequencies are not there and the weekend service is very much abysmal, even on Sundays. If you remember the Clifton Day video, I shouldn't be going to Rolling Road, then walking 40 minutes to a park and ride to get a Fairfax connector bus. They run commuter very well, but I think it's just a lot better if they can just increase their local services to a much better standard. Now, as of this recording, there is going to be a couple of service changes, but by the time I release this video, the service changes have already been implemented, and thankfully, from what I've gathered, it's not any service reduction, but just timing, so that means the connection should hopefully be better. But yeah, that's OmniRide. I generally feel a little bit more tempted to try this service again. It feels like GRTC in many aspects. But anyways, I'm just gonna go ahead and do it. I'm gonna get inside the mall because it is somehow freezing cold, even though it's April. But until we meet again, Thank y'all for watching. Bye bye.